In this video, you will learn how to play a 2-5-1 chord progression in the keys of C major and an A minor. So each key will have 3 different chords. We'll start by taking a look at the left hand to see the chord shapes. The first chord we're going to play is the D minor 7. So we're going to put your index finger on the 5th fret of the 5th string, and then your middle finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then your ring finger on the 5th fret as well on the high E string. So basically they're spaced every other string, starting at the 5th string, 5, 3, and 1st string. Then we put the pinky on the 6th fret of the B string. We'll take a look more at the right hand and how you're going to pluck in just a second. But for now, if we're focusing on the left hand, we only really want to hold down the fingers that we actually need, the notes that we actually need. So we're starting on D minor 7. The next chord we're going to do is a G13 or a G dominant 13. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the index finger going over to the 3rd fret of the low E string, your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the D string, so on the same fret there, your 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the G string, and your pinky on the 5th fret of the B string. So that first switch is we go from D minor 7 on the 5th fret of the 5th string, 5th fret of the G string, and 5th fret of the high E string, pinky there. And because of the way that we're going to pluck the chords, we want to start with the index finger, which is the lowest note in these 2 chords. We'll focus on getting that first. When I switch to this chord, I go to my 1st finger on the low E string, 3rd fret once again. Bring the middle over to the 3rd fret of the D string, your 3rd finger to the 4th fret of the G, and your pinky on the 5th fret of the B for that G13 chord. We'll finish it up. It's kind of cool. We're going to keep the pinky on the same note. We're going to immediately put the 1st finger over here to the A string 3rd fret, with the 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and your middle finger on the 4th fret of the G. So you can think of that as a little triangle between your pinky, your 3rd finger, and then your middle finger there, and then your index finger on the 5th fret of the A string. So that switch from G13, G dominant 13, to C major 7 is pretty smooth because, like I said, we can keep the pinky on the same note. We want to take advantage of that whenever possible. Let's do all 3 chords. So we have D minor 7. So we start with the index finger one more time on the 5th fret of the A string, middle on the 5th fret of the G, and your 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the high E string, your pinky on the 6th fret of the B. Switch to G13, index finger on the 3rd fret, middle on the 3rd fret of the D string, your 3rd finger on the 4th fret there, and your pinky on the 5th fret of the B string. Then drop the index finger down toward the ground for that C major 7. For a 2-5-1, what we're doing is we're building a chord off of each scale degree. So that's what the 2-5-1 numbers refer to. So the D minor 7 is built off of the 2nd scale degree, which in this case is D, because our root note, our number 1, our home base, is C. So then D is 2, that's going to be a minor 7th chord. And then we go to 5, the 5th scale degree for the G, and we build a dominant chord. In this case, to make it a little more interesting, we're doing a G13. And then back to 1, which is the same as the root note, is the C major 7. So once you have those chord shapes in your left hand, get ready. We'll kind of make things interesting with the right hand. To give it a nice comping pattern. So we'll think of the right hand as being in 2 different parts. We'll think of the thumb as playing the low sounds, and then the fingers, I, M, and A, all as one unit playing the high sounds. We're going to go back and forth with the thumb on the A string and the low E string, and then we'll have on the treble strings, we'll have the index, middle, and ring all together. So if we start on a D minor 7 chord, we're going to play the thumb on the A string, and the rhythm that we can do is we can start with 2 8th notes. We go 1, and then the fingers on the and, so like 1 and 2, E, and So that's kind of got a nice syncopated rhythm that goes along in the style of these chords very nicely. So I'll do it again. We'll go 1 and 2, E, and 3, and 4, E, and switch. It's a little bit tricky because we have a 16th note on the old chord, 3 and 4 and then immediately we go to the bass note with the thumb of the next new chord, in this case, G13. So that's a really good thing to practice, to go, when it comes time to switch, your thumb is preparing on the low E string and it doesn't hesitate. That's why we want to grab just that low note right away with the left hand. So we keep going. And then same thing when we go back to the C major 7 chord, the thumb will go back to playing the A string. And then in the 3 fingers, IMA, we'll play the D, G, and B strings. So we start with the D minor 7, we'll play the thumb on the A string, then IMA on the G, B, and E strings, so it's all the string of the 3 strings closest to the floor. And then we go here, the thumb shifts to the low E string, and the 3 fingers shift as well. And for the last chord, the thumb moves to the A string, and then the 3 fingers, in this case, stay the same. You're welcome to play this any way you like. I think it really helps for improvising if you want to have a backing chord progression to improvise over. Also, it's very common how it's used in songs to do the D minor 7 for 4 beats, the G13 for 4 beats. We do the C major 7 for 8 beats, so basically 2 measures. So we'll do the D minor 7 for total of 4 beats, the G13 for total of 4 beats, and then the C major 7 for total of 8 beats. So 1 measure on D minor 7, 1 measure on G13, 2 measures on the C major 7. And I would do the same thing. We'll talk in just a second about the minor 2-5-1. We're doing A minor in the key of A minor. We could do the same thing. So the B minor 7 flat 5, which we'll talk about. Doing that for 4 beats. E7 flat 9 for 4 beats as well. And then A minor 7 for a total of 8 beats. So give it a shot with your right hand, see if you can get that syncopated rhythm going. Next, we'll look at the key of A minor. We'll start with B minor 7 flat 5, E7 flat 9, and end on A minor 7. Let's take a look at the left hand once again. The division of chords in a minor key is a little bit different than in a major key. The division of chords refers to building a chord off of each scale degree. So if we're in A minor, A is going to be our root note, or we can think of it as number 1 or home bass. So number 2 is going to be a B. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to play a B minor 7 flat 5. B minor 7 flat 5 is a very common jazz chord. In the classical world, we would refer to that as a half diminished chord. Just know that they mean the same thing. A minor 7 flat 5 and a half diminished 7th chord are exactly the same thing. The way of calling it, the naming of it as a minor 7 flat 5 is a little more common in the jazz world. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our middle finger on the 7th fret of the low E string, and we're going to put our 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the D string, and then the pinky on the 7th fret of the G string. So they're all on the 7th fret there, and then the index finger is going to come down here to the 6th fret of the B string. So we're skipping over the A string, we're playing 7th fret on the low E string, 7th fret on the D and G strings, and 6th fret on the B string. So it has a very dissonant sound, it's kind of nice. Now we're going to go to the next chord, we're going to mix things up here, we're going to kind of try something kind of neat. We're going to E7 flat 9. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to keep the index finger and the pinky on the same exact notes for that E7 flat 9. So if we start on the B minor 7 flat 5, go nice and slow here. What we want to do is we want to keep the outer fingers down, lift up the 2 interior fingers, and then we want to lead with the ring finger or the 3rd finger going to the 7th fret on the A string, and then follow it up by putting the middle finger on the 6th fret of the D string. We're playing the 4 inside strings of the guitar. Now you might notice that if you look at your hand, that's kind of an unusual formation. The index and middle finger usually would be switched. They would be reversed for a more typical left-hand fingering. Here, we really want to take advantage of the fact that between those 2 chords, the B minor 7 flat 5 and the E7 flat 9, they have those 2 notes in common. So therefore, we want to keep the fingers in common to take advantage of that. I wanted to do those 2 chords, the B minor 7 flat 5 and and then the E7 flat 9. I wanted to do that sequence of chords because that shows up all the time in jazz standards, and I've had students work on that, and it's intimidating because you're like, oh, E7 flat 9, that seems really complicated. It's actually not so bad, and so it's something that's very useful. I was saying before, the 2-5-1 chord progression is something that's really foundational to a lot of compositions and a lot of songs, especially more in a jazz style. So we're going to move the 3rd finger up to the 7th fret, the middle to the 6th fret, and we're going to finish it up with an A minor 7. Now you can play this one of two ways. You can bar the 5th fret, and we just know that we're playing the low E string on the 5th fret, and then we're playing the D, G, and B strings on the 5th fret. We're skipping over the A string. Some people prefer, if you're not as strong on bars, to finger each note individually. So doing index on the low E string, middle on the D string, your 3rd finger on the G string, and your pinky on the B string. That's totally fine. I have pretty big hands, so it's more comfortable for me to do the bar, but either way, it sounds the same. So putting them all together, we have B minor 7 flat 5, so middle finger on the low E string 7th fret, your 3rd and 4th fingers on the 7th fret of the D and the G strings respectively, and your index finger on the 6th fret of the B string. We play that. And then the ring finger comes up towards the ceiling on the 7th fret of the A string, and your middle comes to the 6th fret of the D string. Index and pinky stay down for E7 flat 9. And then we go to the 5th fret, all on the 5th fret on the the low E string, the D, G, and B strings for that nice A minor 7. And then we can put that together with the right hand rhythm that we were talking about just a second ago. It would sound like that. Now you know how to play a 2-5-1 chord progression in the keys of C major and an A minor. The 2-5-1 chord progression is the building block of many compositions and songs, so it's really good to know. It's also really good just to vamp and play over and over as you improvise over it. So let me know in the comments if there are any of these chords that are your particular favorites, and be sure to subscribe for more classical guitar lesson videos. Thanks for watching.